Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. In today's video, we're going to be continuing My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns, What If Deku Was Batman, Part 10. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that is to come out now and in the future. Where we last left off with our series, we began the Season 3 portion of My Hero Academia as we entered into the summer training camp arc. As we go into the final portion of Season 1 of My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns, we see now as Izuku and company will be pushed to the limits as the League of Villains begin to make their assault against the students of UA. In more ways than one though, how will Izuku be able to handle the upcoming trials that seem to await him, as enemies from the Bat family's past begin to make their re-emergence into the world, along with a villain from All Might's past, who looks to seek the head of not only the #1 hero, but also his close loved ones and his future protege. For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns, What If Deku Was Batman, Part 10. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. As the summer camp continued, Izuku would wrap up another day's worth of training. As he was walking back to the cabins, he found himself being drawn to a sound of rubble breaking in the distance. As he looked over the side of the hill, he could see Melissa, as she was using her quirk abilities to drive her fists into the stone wall. The ground was starting to shake a little with each punch that she threw, before finally she threw one final massive hit. Izuku moved over to see what she had been able to do, seeing the imprints of the fist marks that she had thrown, along with the footprints of her kicks. She had definitely been impressive, to say the least. "So, you're working hard?" Izuku! Hi. Sorry, I probably overdid it. No, not at all. You've really been working hard since you got here. Well, everyone's trying their best, so why shouldn't I? Yeah. So how's your training been? That woman, she's been working with you and Mr. Aizawa too, right? Yeah. They specialize working with hand-to-hand combat, since the quirk listing. Yeah. So, how have you been? I've just been trying to get a better control of my quirk overall. It hasn't been too bad. These imprints are proof of that. And at the very least, I can throw a decently powerful punch without worrying about my arm shattering. As Izuku looked closer, he could see a lot of scars. Of course, thanks to the tracksuit that they were all wearing, Melissa was using the long sleeves to hide them, although it was obvious. She seems to be breaking her body over and over again. But that doesn't make much sense. From my training with Mr. Wayne, from everything I've learned, quirks are supposed to be naturally compatible with one's body. Sure, there might be growing pains, but even still, the damage shouldn't be this too severe, especially if she's been training for a while now. What's the matter? Melissa would ask. Oh, it's nothing, it's just... I've noticed with your quirk, maybe I'm just reading way too much into it, but it seems like it hurts your body a lot. Oh, it's no big deal. Really, I'm just getting used to it is all. I understand, but quirks are supposed to be naturally compatible with the body that you're born with. I mean, I don't know, it's almost like the quirk isn't mine. Huh? Wow. I didn't think you'd figure it out. Wait, figure it out? Hold on, you didn't figure it out? But figure out what? Oh no, 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 no. Oh no, I promised Uncle All Might that I'd keep it a secret. Oh no, this is bad. This is really bad. What? What is it? I, well, if it's something you can't tell me, I understand. I mean, I, I trust you, really, I do. It's just, Melissa, if you don't want to tell me, you don't have to, really. But I kind of want you to know. I was born quirkless. Really? That doesn't even seem possible, but if you were born quirkless, then how did you... Wait. Quirk transfer? You could say that. I've heard theories about having the ability to transfer a quirk, although they've only been said to be rumors. I didn't think it'd actually be possible, but if you've been training under All Might, then does that mean you... Melissa would explain everything to Izuku. How she had gotten her abilities, how she had been given her quirk, one for all. Judging from the time period, it seemed as though she had gotten the quirk around the same time that Izuku had started his training with Bruce Wayne. So, you could say that we are the prodigies of the top heroes? I say. Although, I wonder why Master Bruce never told me about you sooner. I had no idea. I heard stories from All Might about the past, and I've been keeping it a secret ever since. I figured as much, as though when you started using that suit of yours, that you'd be receiving training from Batman, although I had no idea that he and Bruce were the same person. Yeah, I wonder why they didn't tell either of us. Maybe they were going to do so at a later date and time, and we just figured it out before now? Probably. Well, at least now we both have a secret we can keep. Yeah, I promise I won't tell yours, Izuku. And I won't tell yours either. So, I take it that the quirk hasn't been easy on you. One for all? It's had its challenges. When I received it, it was hard to control at first. I tended to overdo it, and my body, well, it seemed to pay a price. However, I was able to adjust. The suit that I wear, it's specially made to compress my muscles together, to help keep them from tearing and breaking apart so easily, and I make sure to try to spread the power all throughout my body, instead of focusing it on one limb at a time, as you've seen the results. Yeah, it seems pretty scary. Although if I'm being honest, you probably would have been a better recipient of it than I am. What, you think so? Yeah, just look at how well trained your body is. I'd say you'd be very compatible with One for All. Me with One for All? Well, that's a funny story. Yeah, who would imagine? But still though, it's pretty difficult at times. The way you're always trying to keep everything in check. Yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming. If I'm not careful, my whole body can blow up. That would not be good. But I take it you also know about... Yeah, I heard the story about the fight with All for One. The fight that put your master into permanent retirement. Yeah. How have you been dealing with that other thing? The other thing? Yeah, in Hosu. That guy with the mask. Him. We've been trying to keep track of him for a while now. Although we have no idea where he is. He goes by the name Deathstroke. It was said that he died in the War of Gotham 10 years ago, but now he's somehow come back to life. Aren't you worried? I mean, it's not too bad. I don't think it's anything that we can't handle. Although, I can't say that I'm all too confident that if I faced him now, I'd stand a chance. But even still, that's why we're here, right? To get stronger. Melissa would nod as the two of them bumped fists before joining the others for that night's dinner. As Izuku went out, he saw the young boy Kota walking off in the distance. He followed him, making sure that his presence wasn't known, before finding a cliffside area where Kota sat alone. Izuku decided not to disturb him before going back and meeting with Mandalay, the person who had been taking care of him, his cousin. Oh, hey kid. Hi, is Kota alright? Oh, yeah, he's fine. And what makes you ask? It's just, the way he talked about heroes, I'd figure most kids his age would, love them. Yeah, it's true. Heroes are normally loved in this era. But Kota has his own opinions about heroes. You see, his parents were the water heroes, and they lost their life. While they were trying to protect some nearby civilians, they were killed brutally by a villain. I had no idea. It's fine. I stepped in to take care of him, since after all, he needed family. But still, in our society, heroes have not always been looked upon favorably. For all those who support the work that we do, there are others who are against it. But it doesn't make sense though. Heroes, they fight to protect, don't they? Wouldn't more people want them around? In a way, though still, do you think everyone that becomes a hero does it for the right reasons? Everyone has their own motives, their own desires, their own reasons for doing what they do. Not everyone that becomes a hero does it to become the righteous one, the one who saves those in peril. Some do it for fame and fortune, others have their own motives. One can never be too sure. The hero term has become monopolized. There are people who use it for their own brand and reasoning. Hearing this, Izuku thought more about the hero killer Stain. Of course, he didn't agree with his methodology at all, but at the same time, even Izuku wasn't blind to the potential corruptness of heroes, something that Bruce had drilled into him greatly. It caused him to think of a flashback, remembering after a days of training, he and Bruce had a discussion about a very thing. He remembered being told by Bruce that even back in what was said to be the Golden Age, not all heroes were altruistic. There were many of whom that Izuku had known that had great fame who did some bad things, questionable things, some things even unspeakable. Of course, everyone didn't have to be a hero for the same reason, though still, there were heroes who, even if they had that name, they were not to be idolized. Hearing this now, Izuku wondered if he had the right idea. He wanted to speak to Kota, but even still, he wasn't sure of what he could say, if there was anything that he could offer to the young man. This caused Izuku to give a call to Bruce, to ask him his opinion on the matter. Bruce would tell Izuku that he should tread carefully in a situation like this. Not everyone takes loss the same way. While there were many out there who understood the plight of the hero, there were also those who couldn't help but feel scorn towards them. After all, it was the job of a hero to save lives. Even Bruce himself had to admit there were many lives that were lost on his watch. Despite everything he had done, despite all of his efforts, Batman couldn't save everyone at any given time. This was something even All Might struggled with, knowing that there were people out there all around the world that would call out his name, that needed his help, and knowing that he simply would never be able to reach them. You could say it was a form of false hope, but others, it was a hope that was needed. As the world of heroes was entering into its critical juncture, it was going to be the actions of Izuku, of the others, that would determine its fate. In the meantime, later on that night, the camp was going to be having a special test of courage, as the students would go wandering through the forest. For Izuku, he was preparing some of the props that were needed for the test of courage, and everything seemed to be alright. That was until instantly, a large fire would begin to emanate from the center point of the forest itself. Izuku would immediately go for his communicator. It was the one piece of technology that wasn't being disrupted, thankfully, as everyone else who had tried to use their cell phones, they were seeming to have a hard time getting reception. Although thankfully, the communication device that he had been given by Tim was especially made to block out such inconveniences, a way for the Bat family to talk to one another no matter how far they were. Izuku would give a call back over to the city, where Carrie was, along with Bruce. Immediately, they would pick up the communication device and listen in. "Izuku," Bruce would say. "What's the matter?" "Master, there seems to be a fire. It started in the forest. We've tried to call help, but we're not getting any reception. I was the only one that could find any way of getting to you." "You're the only one that has any reception? Even for a place like that, it's not supposed to be too far secluded that you can't get any calls with authorities. I have a feeling this is a setup. You think this is an attack?" "We can't be 100% sure. For now, make sure you and the other students stay safe. I'm going to help make sure that the authorities get to you as soon as possible. I'm sending word to All Might as well. Stay on comms in case anything else changes." "Understood." Izuku would go over to Mandalay, as he would ask if everything was alright. Mandalay explained that she was going to tell Mr. Aizawa and the others of the potential problem, noting that this could be an attack. The situation only becoming worse as now a smoke was starting to appear all throughout the forest, and students were starting to become affected. She was also worried for Kota, Izuku telling her not to worry, that he was going to go find them, since he knew exactly where he'd be. Izuku raced through the forest quickly, making his way up to the mountain. Knowing that Kota was going to be there, he yelled out for him. However, Kota was in his own situation, as he looked up, and now a menacing figure was standing before him. "And what's a little brat like you doing all the way out here alone? You get lost, looking for your mommy and daddy?" Those eyes." "Well, don't worry. I'll make sure that you're all reunited in that great place in the sky above." The man raised his fist to bring it down on Kota. However, before he could strike, Izuku moved in the nick of time, running as fast as his legs could carry him. He swooped in to grab Kota before using the grappling hook to help carry them away. As they jumped back towards a tree lining, Izuku would stand at the ready, holding the cachet ball, as the nanite metal ball sphere would transform into a bow staff. Didn't anyone ever tell you not to go picking on children? Children? All I see are weaklings. I don't care if you're man, woman, or child. The weak deserve to be destroyed by the strong. As the man took off the hood on his cloak, Izuku getting a good look at his face, Kota would now be filled with immense fear, because now he knew for certain that this was the one. You killed them. Huh? You killed my parents. I did I? I'm sorry, but I don't remember. Although, if I can't remember, then they must not have been anything significant. Before he could finish his sentence, Izuku would deliver a swift kick to his face. He didn't want to hear him finish that sentence. As Izuku backed away once more, standing on the defense, the muscle-bound villain looked at him with intrigue. Well, aren't you a feisty one? Don't you dare make light of the dead. You hear me? Make light. Please. You act as though the weak and the insignificant have a right to complain. As far as I'm concerned, this world is survival of the fittest, and only the strongest can survive. So now show me. Are you strong, or are you weak? The muscular villain would charge towards Izuku. Izuku, using his speed and his nimbleness, would dodge the muscle-bound villain's attacks. From their brief exchange, Izuku was able to see that this guy was a brawler more than anything else, relying on his pure physical strength and his ability to outmatch anyone with raw power. Izuku held the edge, at least when it came to speed, although he wasn't making any headway. And for the few strikes he did get in, it didn't really help much at all. As the moment he tried to slam his bow staff into his arm, the arm would be coated in muscle fiber. Izuku would dispatch of the bow staff, returning it back into its nanosphere form. As he backed away and retreated, the villain would start to envelop his muscles in thick muscle fiber. This is why I'm known as muscular. My quirk, it creates muscle fibers around my body, allowing me to increase and amplify my strength. For a fact, I know that you can't match me when it comes to power. But you think that that speed of yours is just going to give you the edge? He smirked before instantly bolting towards Izuku. Before he even had a chance to react, he found himself being speared to the ground. Izuku would cough up blood. One more hit like that, and he felt as though his whole back might break into two. So much for that. Running around with your fancy feet and your fancy tools. I take it you don't have a quirk, because otherwise you would have done something by now. I have to fight a normie. So lame. But you were a fun little exercise. Muscular would pull a tree from out of the ground with his roots, preparing to impale Izuku with it and destroy him. But here's to happy trails. Before he could commit his murderous act, though, there would be water that would be sprayed in his face. What the? Kota, nervous and crying, he used his water quirk, hoping that it would steer the villain away. Kota! Leave him alone. Just stop. Water. Water. Oh, I remember. Your parents were those warrior heroes. Oh yeah. They weren't even action heroes. They were just on defense. Didn't even see it coming when I destroyed them. Gotta say, I don't know what they thought they were doing when they tried to fight against me. I mean, seriously, how pathetic do you have to be to really think that you could make a difference? They were nothing but spineless wimps, and they actually had a kid together? Oh boy, you gotta be kidding me. But still, I don't go easy on anyone, even children. If the little brat thinks he can step into the arena with the big boys, then he's gonna have to suffer big boy consequences. Muscular raised his fist as he towered over the young boy. Don't go crying now. Show me that moxie you had just a second ago. I'll even give you the first attack. Go on, I won't even hit back. No, you're not gonna take it. Alright, I guess it's my turn. If you're gonna do anything, now's your last chance. Otherwise, you're gonna go night-night just like them. As he raised his fist into the air, a metal cord would wrap around it, pulling his right arm back behind him. What the? He looked to see the cord was tied to the tree stump he had pulled from out of the ground. When did he? And then instantly, Izuku appeared in front of him, raising his right hand along with his sword. Muscular could feel a tinge of terror in his eyes. What the? What's he doing with that sword? Is he actually gonna try to kill me? Izuku, however, was not going to kill him. As much as he wanted to, as much as the only thing he could think right now was of his rage and his anger. Self-control and discipline had been beat into him. He remembered the lessons that he had been taught. Oftentimes, the villain will try to drag you down to their level, to put you into a place where you sacrifice being who and what you are. Above all else, a hero's job is to preserve life. And even more so, it is up to the hero to never fall into the darkness. Even if you are surrounded by it, even if you use it to your advantage, you must never allow it to overcome you. With that in mind, Izuku slashed at Muscular's arms, cutting away at the multiple muscle fibers, hacking at them faster than they could regenerate. 3 broken ribs, a fractured leg, a dislocated left shoulder. Izuku's pain was immense. Every step he took, every breath that entered into his body, it felt excruciating, agonizing. But even more agonizing was the thought of defeat, the thought of losing a life. For Izuku, that was the one thing he would never allow to happen. Under his watch, he would not allow for the loss of life. He moved around like a blur, his blade moving and shimmering in the moonlight. The blood flew all around. Muscular tried to regrow his muscle fibers, but every time he did, they were cut down. Until eventually, as Izuku had expected, he would reach his limit. No matter how strong you think you are, everyone has a weakness. It's just a matter of finding it. Under normal circumstances, cutting those fibers would be nearly impossible. But this sword isn't like most. It was designed to cut through things a lot stronger than you. I don't have to kill you. I just have to cut down your quirk to the point where you can't use it anymore, and you're nothing left but a man. And how does that figure? Even in my base, I'm still stronger than you. Izuku, using his one good leg, would kick him in the face, before transforming his blade into a pair of brass knuckles, delivering a devastating combo of strikes with just one arm and one good leg. As Muscular had felt a devastating uppercut, feeling as though his whole jaw had been shattered, blood and gums and teeth flying out of his mouth as he looked up into the night sky. There was one image that struck him with fear. As high above him, the boy stood, with his fist ready to meet him. But what shined behind him was not the light of the moon, but it seemed as though it were a creature of the night. The boy had a darkness that radiated all around him, a force of energy. What is this feeling? Why am I tensing at his presence? It's so overwhelming. Despite everything I've done to him, he won't stay down. Just who the hell is he? Before he had a chance to ponder on that question, everything would go dark as Izuku delivered one devastating punch, knocking him square in the face. As he was knocked back down to the ground, Izuku landed on wobbly knees, his left arm dangling, and his right one, he felt as though he had took it to the max. He felt as though he had been punching at concrete, and he had somehow got it to break. Izuku looked over to Kota as he walked over and assured him that everything was going to be fine, because he had promised he was not going to let anything happen to him. In the meantime, the students in the camp would find themselves under attack, as the vanguard of the League of Villains would begin their assault. Their mission was simple: 3 targets. Other than that, cause as much damage as you can. One of their targets would find themselves surrounded, that being Melissa. She would find herself being cornered by Splinter, along with Toga, Dabi, and Jinx. Mr. Compress had already captured one of them, the boy known as Tokoyami. The only other one that was left was the one known as Katsuki Bakugo. What do you want with me? It's not about you. It's about what we have. I believe you'll comply once you see this. Dabi held up a phone. After seeing the image, Melissa knew what was at stake. What do you want? You're going to be coming with us. There's someone who wants to see you. Knowing that she had no choice but to comply, Melissa wouldn't fight back. Bakugo and Todoroki would also arrive on the scene, the two attempting to fight off the villains, despite Melissa's pleas for them to stop. In the midst of fighting, Bakugo would find himself being taken as well. Izuku had managed to get Kota back to Mandalay, as well as reconvening with Mr. Aizawa. Using Mandalay's power, they were able to get the word out for all the students to be able to fight back. When Izuku learned of what had happened to Melissa, he went running over there as quickly as his legs could carry him. Tired and exhausted, he had only barely managed to arrive as the villains were looking to make their escape. As they attempted to do so, Izuku would cut them off. He threw his sword towards Mr. Compress, causing one of the marbles to be released. The marble proving that it was none other than Tokoyami. But as for Bakugo and Melissa, they were slowly being pulled in by Kirigiri in the warp gate. The villains started to join them as well. However, as Izuku reached out for Melissa's hand and for Bakugo's, a wave of energy would be shot back at him. As he looked into the portal, he saw a familiar set of eyes. The eyes he had seen on the rooftop all those months ago when he tried to stop them. There was no way. It was her. But little did Izuku know, it was not just her eyes that he were looking into, for they were also looking back upon his. She recognized those eyes. The boy with the scarf. Had it been him? Why would their paths cross now? For what reason? She wasn't entirely sure, but looking into them, she didn't like that feeling. Izuku found himself falling back to the ground. He was caught by the other students. However, as he looked up into the sky, a strong tinge of pain and failure filled his heart. For despite his best efforts and the promise that he had made, in the end, he still lost. This concludes My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Part 10. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Dragon Ball World's Strongest. What If Wonder Woman Was in Dragon Ball? Part 10. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.